Hello, today I'm going to go over a simple form of variance analysis. This video will be very insightful because the data that we're working with is not so obvious and you will have to think about how you want to present the financial results. For our task, we have to conduct a variance analysis for FY 2025 for the 4 projects that I initiated. So if we take a look at the budget data, we have platform development, customer database, payment structure, and cybersecurity, where we have the percentage completion and the dollar budgeted. If we go to the actual tab, we have the actual cost incurred and the percentage completion by month and by the project. We're going to conduct the analysis within the variance analysis tab, and you'll notice that this is empty because I want to provide you the full flexibility in setting up the financial results. This is a very important skill set to have because when you're solving problems, you have to think about what's the best way to present information to our stakeholders so that they can absorb information very efficiently. Now, the interesting thing about this case is that when you normally conduct a variance analysis, you would only look at cost. However, in this case, this does not provide that much value because some projects might not have finished in FY 2025 and the percentage completion could be completely off. So for example, for platform development, we are expecting a full completion by November. However, in the actual, we haven't completed the project yet. So although it might seem favorable that our cost is lower, it's actually not good because we haven't completed the project yet. So the variance analysis that we're going to conduct today will try to provide all of these key insights. So before we begin our analysis, let's take a quick look at our source data, where in the budget we have percentage completion and the dollars. And in actuals, we have the period, project, cost, and percentage completion. Now that we know what information is available, let's begin setting up our variance analysis. The very first obvious step is to bring in the projects, where I want to just copy over these 4 projects that we have here. Now here, I'm going to set up 3 different analysis columns. So the very first thing is going to be actual, budget, variance, and then variance percentage. And the very first section is going to assess the cost. The second section is going to check percentage completion. And then the third section is going to check the rate. So essentially cost per percentage completion. And now that we have this template, let's begin bringing in the information that we need to. So I'm going to sum ifs the cost where the project matches the project that we're analyzing. Very simple. And then for the total, I'm just going to add all of these up. And because we know that the data is all for FY 2025, we actually don't have to use this column in any of our conditions. Now to bring in the budget, I could either use a sum product and bring it in from here, or I can set up 2 columns and then just call this FY 25 and then calculate the annual total. And I can see that all the projects were budgeted to be completed in FY 25. So let's set up another sum ifs. So here I could already see that technically if we only look at cost, we are favorable because we actually spent less than what we've budgeted for. So the variance would be budget minus actual. And then the variance percentage would be variance divided by the budget. So we're about 9.2% under than what we've budgeted for. However, we know that this is not the full story. So under percentage completion, I am now also going to sum ifs the percentage completion. And for the total, I'm actually just going to average these 4. So on average, we completed about 89% of all our initiatives. And then for the budget, we know that they're actually all 100, but let's use a formula to bring this in as well. And then again, the variance, this time we're going to do actual minus budget because if we are under the budgeted completion rate, it's not a good thing. And then for variance percentage, I think we can actually just remove that. So we can see that we are about 11% behind our normal schedule for completing all the projects. Lastly, the rate is actually the most important. It tells you how much you actually spent per percentage completion. This should tell you the real commentary on whether your cost is actually above or below the budget. So to calculate the rate, we're going to divide the cost by the rate times 100. So what this tells us is that we spend about $38,000 for every percentage completion point for the project platform development. If we apply that to the budget as well, we can see that this is also pretty much the same. So we're actually on the dot in terms of rate. So by the time that this project hits 100% completion, we should expect this to be about 3.85 mil as well. And then if we apply this across the board, we can see that specifically for this project, when we're looking at the cost, it says that we are favorable by 25%. However, when we look at the rate, we can see that it's actually higher than the budgeted rate. So by the time that this project hits 100% completion, we will most likely be higher than the budget. So let's copy this formula here as well. And with the information in the state, it is ready to be presented. However, one more metric that you can show that will really seal the deal is to show a variance in cost, assuming that all the projects are done their development. So what I mean by here is that we are going to show prorated cost. And the way we're going to show that is we are going to simply divide the rate by 1%. So this will show the total cost at 100% completion. Again, for this project, which is at 73%, if we finish the project, we would have incurred 2.8 mil, which is higher than the budgeted cost. And with these four variances presented, it paints the full picture of where our project development status is. We know that our cost management for the last two projects is not as good. Two projects are lagging behind their completion schedule. These are the total costs that we've incurred so far, and these are the total costs that we can expect to incur by the time all projects are done completion. So although we've only incurred about 13.5 mil, we should expect to incur about an additional 1.4 mil in the next year, which will affect our budget as well. So this is actually very useful information. And with this, you have finished the variance analysis exercise. I highly recommend for you to try this as well. This gives you very good experience with setting up a variance analysis and analyzing the data to see what you need to present to generate insightful information. I hope this video helped you get a refresher of what a variance analysis is and what your ultimate objective as a financial analyst is as well. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.